Was Harvard law worth it? Like a good trial lawyer, I'll make my case and then you can decide. Hi, I'm Rory Verrett. Welcome to Protege Leadership Academy. I'm an executive recruiter, executive coach, and I provide career advice to underdog professionals. And today, I want to talk about whether or not Harvard Law School was worth it. This year, I celebrate 30 years as a graduate of Harvard Law School. And it got me thinking, with the student loans, with all the hard work, at the end of the day, was it worth it? Well, today I'm going to outline the 7 things I learned at Harvard Law School and then answer, was it really worth it? So let's talk about what I actually got out of Harvard Law School. Number 1, the Socratic method, the art of questioning and answering. First up, I learned about the Socratic method, which is essentially Harvard Law's signature way of teaching. The Socratic method is a way of asking questions that encourage critical thinking. Instead of giving you the answers, professors ask probing questions to make you think deeply, analyze the material, and come to conclusions yourself. Harvard Law pioneered this pedagogical approach that's in almost every law school. And all of us at HLS read the book 1L and were scared out of our minds about what life would be like at the law school. The Socratic method can be a bit intimidating, especially when you're on the hot seat and you're being called on in front of a class full of peers. But the beauty of it is that it forces you to be quick on your feet, to think critically under pressure. And for me, it was a game changer. It's been something I've carried with me throughout my career. In business meetings, in public speaking, in interviews, it's all about thinking on your feet and articulating a well thought out response in real time. Speaking of which, did you know that Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first Black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, was also taught this method at Harvard Law? Ketanji was a class behind me at Harvard Law School, and she's often mentioned how the Socratic method taught her how to quickly synthesize complex information and be poised under pressure. It helped shape her into the brilliant and confident judge we admire today. Another thing I learned at Harvard Law School was how to be a protege to iconic people. At Harvard Law, it's full of incredibly smart, successful people, professors, alumni, and even your fellow students. And one of the best lessons I took away is how to learn from these individuals, not just through books or study groups, but through actual relationships. The late Charles Ogletree taught me a valuable lesson in trial advocacy workshop. I had delivered what I thought was a brilliant closing argument in a mock trial. I proudly sat down and crossed my legs like I was Johnny Cochran in a royal blue suit. Professor Ogletree scolded me, "Mr. Verrett, you just lost the case for your client. With your incredible oratory, you just usurped the jury's capacity to find out the truth on its own. You told them that you knew the truth, and you implored them to believe and trust you, but they don't know the truth. The best practice is to lay out the facts, to lead the jury right to the conclusion you want them to make, and to let them discover the truth on their own. Once they make it their truth, you've won." I never forgot this lesson. And over the years, I developed a strong relationship with Professor Ogletree. He graciously rented his home on Martha's Vineyard to my family for many years. I even tried to recruit him when I worked on the search for the president of the NAACP. So while I'm sure I would have met wonderful people at almost any law school, I had my pick of iconic leaders to be mentored by at Harvard Law: Charles Ogletree, David Wilkins, Elizabeth Warren, Larry Tribe, and many, many others. The third thing I learned at Harvard Law School is the intellectual jousting with brilliant minds. Now, this is something that brings up a little bit of the competitive nature of the law school. But one of the most exciting things I learned there was how to intellectually joust with some of the most brilliant people I've met in my life. The students at Harvard Law School are sharp. I mean, razor sharp. So if you're going to survive and thrive, you need to learn how to debate, disagree, and challenge ideas in a respectful and confident way. Think about somebody like former President Barack Obama. Before he was making history, he was at Harvard Law School leading the Harvard Law Review. He was known for his ability to bring people together in intellectual debates, listening deeply, but also knowing when to stand firm in his beliefs. I was fortunate enough to hear stories from professors who had taught him and friends of his that became friends of mine. And they all noted his incredible intellectual agility. I debated affirmative action with my fellow classmate Ted Cruz. I wouldn't call him brilliant. I discussed telecom policy with my roommate who is now president of a hedge fund. I had cocktail party chatter at my legendary parties in law school with folks who are now A-list Hollywood producers. Now, this wasn't just a skill for the classroom, it was a skill for life. Whether it was legal strategy, business innovation, or social issues, the ability to intellectually joust and challenge ideas without losing your cool or respect was something that proved invaluable throughout my career. The fourth thing I learned at Harvard Law School was really understanding who I was as a student. At Harvard Law, frankly, I learned a lot about myself, my intellectual horsepower and capacity. I came into the law school thinking I would have to be the best at everything, but the reality is that Harvard Law has so many talented people that it forced me to step back and reflect on my own strengths and acknowledge my weaknesses. What I realized is that I'm a mix of talent and intellect. I may not be the first person to grasp every concept in the classroom, but when I took the time to break things down and really focus, I could connect the dots in ways that others might miss. I also learned the importance of collaboration, learning to lean in with my classmates when I didn't have all the answers, and being confident enough to offer my perspective when I did. The humbling thing was that a true legal scholar, maybe that wasn't my future. I was sort of middle of the pack academically. But when it came to public speaking, moot court, student government, building relationships, well, I was in the top 10%, maybe the top 1%. For me, this realization was freeing. It's important to know your strengths, but also to know that nobody has to be the best at everything. The key is finding your own unique voice and talents and your own unique approach to solving problems. And number 5, how to speak on my feet under pressure. Now, I had been in speech and debate much of high school and part of college, but I really learned how to do this at Harvard Law in a way that has helped me throughout my career. Whether it was being called on in class or participating in moot court, there were constant opportunities to practice public speaking, to defend my arguments, and to stay calm under pressure with everybody watching. Moot court in particular was like a crash course in speaking on your feet under pressure. You're given a case, you have to prepare to argue it, and if you're a lawyer in front of a judge, this becomes the best practice you can have. In our moot court case at Harvard Law, our judges were federal appeals court judges, and in some cases, Supreme Court justices. I remember Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick dismantling our team's argument during moot court. The pressure was intense, but this experience was invaluable. It taught me how to organize my thoughts quickly, present arguments clearly, and handle tough questions from judges, or in some cases, my own professors. These skills have been critical in my career. Whether I'm presenting in front of an audience, negotiating a deal, or having a high-stakes recruiting conversation, the ability to stay composed and articulate under pressure is something I picked up through countless hours in the classroom and in mock courtrooms at Harvard Law. Another one of the important things I learned at Harvard Law School was how to sustain true excellence. It's easy to be excellent once, and maybe even twice, but to sustain that level of excellence over the long haul, that's an entirely different beast altogether. I saw people like Josh Stein and Willie Epps embody this concept. These were folks that were known for their relentless pursuit of excellence. My good friend Robert James as well, Euless Boyd and others, Dave Morgan. These were people that were always bringing their A game. And as friends of mine and classmates, they made me bring my A game. I realized that excellence isn't just about being the smartest person in the room, it's about consistency, discipline, and resilience. For me, sustaining excellence means building habits that support long-term growth. It's about making the hard choices every day, to put in the work, to stay focused on the bigger picture, and recognizing that failure isn't a setback, but an opportunity to learn and improve. And number 7, one of the most powerful things I learned at Harvard Law School was that I belong there. Even as I got to know my fellow brilliant classmates, I never questioned if I was Harvard Law material. I came to realize that I wasn't just there to learn from these brilliant minds. I was there because I had something valuable to contribute to. It's a powerful realization very early in your life that when you're surrounded by people that are exceptional, that you belong there too. That's the thing about Harvard Law School. It's not just about the credentials or the prestige. It's about this mix of diverse-driven people who are all coming together to push each other, to push the boundaries of knowledge and law and society, and to create these lifelong friendships. I learned that my ideal professional and social mix is exactly like law school, a community of smart, driven individuals who challenge each other to grow. So there you have it, 7 things I learned at Harvard Law. It wasn't just about the books or the case studies. It was about the lessons I learned from brilliant peers, powerful mentors, incredible professors, and this constant push to be my best. Whether it was the Socratic method, the art of intellectual jousting, or the realization that I belong there, every part of my experience there shaped who I am today. So, was it worth it? Well, here's my perspective as an executive recruiter and alumnus. Any university degree that you get provides you 3 things: the knowledge that you actually learn as a student, the credentialing that this degree provides you in the job market, and the value of your alumni relationships. My Harvard Law degree cost me $100,000. Was it worth it? Every single penny. In fact, it might have been worth $200,000. That's this week's episode. I'll see you next week on the Protégé Leadership Academy.